What's up, you guys? I'm Melissa. Welcome to my channel. If you are not new here, welcome back. And especially if you are a Charmed fan, which you are because you clicked this video, a special welcome to you. Something wicked this way comes. So like many of you, I grew up on watching Charmed, and I grew up watching the reruns on TNT all of the time. It was a show that had a lot of imagination. It had the supernatural, it had witchy things. It covered everything. It had fairies, pirates at some point, zombies, mermaids, freaking, what else? So many things. It had the Western. It was an inventive and fun show to watch, a great escape to tune in every single week. And I never got sick of it. That's actually the very first thing that I binged on Netflix. When I finally got access to Netflix, that is the first thing that I saw was on there. And I was like, oh crap, Charmed is on here, no commercials. Hello, 8 seasons of no commercials. I binged it and it felt like an awesome, special, magical time in my life when I rewatched the show for like the 8th billionth time. And one of the things that I truly adore about that show was the whole family dynamic, that sisterhood. It was always a show about sisters that happened to be witches, and I think they were so freaking smart in focusing on that. So in today's video, that's what's inspired me. So today I'm basically going to be breaking down each of the sisters. And yes, that means 4 of them because we know a 4th baby does come at a certain point of the show. So first up, we have the eldest, Prue Halliwell. As the eldest Halliwell sister, Prue has really had to take on a lot of responsibility in her life. She's had to take care of her sisters. She's the one that has the high-paying career as this auctioneer, and she doesn't really love it. At some point, she throws that all away and becomes a photographer, finding her true purpose in her dream life. She was always known as the one that's the most powerful. She's the one that has the most responsibility. She's very protective. She is very loyal, and she's very competent. As the strongest sister, she had the power of telekinesis and then later on astral projection, in which she could kind of move herself outside of her own body. She was the one that actually loved to demon fight, so much so she would have her personal life take a backseat, and demon fighting became the focal point, which kind of overshadowed her quest for other things like, you know, finding time to go on a date. She would actually schedule in demon fighting. That's the episode from the Sin in the City. Who does that? You know who does? Prue Halliwell, demon fighting witch. I think they depicted her as the one that oftentimes would be the voice of reason and also be the one that was super smart and always right. That I think sometimes that kind of made her not always relatable, but rather more aspirational as the eldest sister. They pretty much built her up to be this power of one. I think because of this, sometimes she would not really come off as somebody who was super understanding of certain things and situations, especially when it came to her little sister Phoebe. And I think that's most prominent in the earlier seasons when they had the most tension between them. Next up, we have Piper, the middle sister, and then later on the eldest sister. She started off being this really high-strung and neurotic person. She kind of became the mediator between her eldest sister and her youngest sister. Piper has a lifelong passion for cooking and actually dreams of becoming a chef and owning her own restaurant. Later on, she does end up leaving her management restaurant job and ends up opening up her own club because that one is less risky than opening up her own restaurant. From the very beginning, she is the sister that is the most resistant in becoming a witch. Sometimes she was actually kind of resentful, and at some point actually was okay with taking all of her powers away because Piper, if nothing else, craves and desires a normal life. And I think that's pretty relatable. But because family is the most important thing in Piper's life, of course she remains a witch throughout the run of the show because she wants to make sure that she's there for her sisters, and she also wants to honor her ancestors. I would say her desire for reaching and striving for that normal life is what keeps her grounded, and it's what keeps her sane. And you know, a girl's got to do whatever she can to grab her sanity when you're living in a supernatural witchy life, when there's a demon coming after you every other week, sometimes twice a week. I think her wanting that normal life is really true to her character for somebody who longs to have her dream career. She wants to find love. She wants to spend time with her family. And she absolutely, out of everyone on the show, I think had the most growth, starting out as this kind of high-strung middle sister who grows up to be the head of the household and is not taking anybody's crap. Next, we have a Phoebe Halliwell, who is so interesting to me because I think she started out the show as the youngest, and she's known as the fun-loving, the bubbly, sweet, eternal child, and she becomes this middle sister later on. But even though she was this really sweet person, she was the one that they constantly showed that she's always in danger of walking that fine line between good and evil, to the point where we even had that season where she became literally the queen of evil. And let's not forget, that's because she married the source of all evil. She was the one that had the longest relationship with a demon on the show. I do like the contrast of her and her sisters, because in the beginning of the show, she is the one that is all about being a witch. She thinks it's amazing and, yeah, I have powers, we're fighting demons, let's do this, let's save innocents. She's the most enthusiastic about it, while the two of them are kind of like, let's think about this. But no, Phoebe's fearless and impulsive, sometimes to her own detriment. I think her being that enthusiastic was an interesting take, because I think usually when they show people who are gaining powers, they kind of get freaked out. And I like that she was wanting to learn right away. She was welcoming her destiny pretty quickly. Like I said, I think she was the nicest and sweetest sister. She had an open heart to people, because she welcomed people. She wanted to make them feel good and comfortable, like they did for Aviva in that episode, the fourth sister. But sometimes she was a little bit too welcoming and kind of too loving, to the point where she fell in love with the demon Cole, because that was a whole toxic and tumultuous relationship that I swear I could do a whole other video on. I just think that relationship gets too much love on TikTok. You guys, he was evil. Last but not least, we have Paige Matthews, who is the baby sister. She comes in and really causes a lot of things to move around in the show. This causes Piper to become the eldest, and she has her own journey there. And then this causes Phoebe to become the middle sister, and that's a whole other journey. You know, she has to have a lot more responsibility from being youngest to middle. And then Paige, who was an only child and for a lot of her life ended up being alone because of her adoptive parents, who she loved, died while she was in high school, spent so much of her life being alone and being lonely. So when she finds out that she has sisters, she is really happy, but also freaked out, because she's also not just a sister. I have siblings, I have sister witches. So in the beginning, it's pretty rough. And I think the relationship between her and Piper is especially rough, because there's so many emotions. Piper is still reeling the death of Prue, which is totally understandable. And at the same time, they need to find a replacement, because it is their job. They are charmed ones. They need a replacement for their sister to keep on rescuing the world. I think when she enters the world in this show as a witch, it's realistic in the way that they did it, because it ends up, it starts off awkward, right? And then slowly but surely that relationship evolves and it changes and it grows, and they become, all of them become super close, like they were when, you know, pre-Paige. By season 5, we see Paige has a lot of learning to do, but she's also learned so much that she becomes the one that's super enthusiastic again about going out there and creating spells, and she quits her job and she dyes her hair. And she's out there gaining all this power and knowledge, and becomes kind of lead witch for a little bit as Piper is getting ready to have her baby. And Phoebe, her whole career has blown up with her job as a journalist. As Paige took on more responsibility, we see her grow there. And then we see even more growth later on in season 5, when she decides, you know what? Magic isn't all just fun. It kind of cost us a lot. I want to be able to still live my life and take a step back and separate my life from magic, because I still have a life to live. Of all of those 3 as well, I think she probably comes second as having like the coolest powers. Drum roll. I'm gonna tell you my favorite sister. Ready? I mean, you may have guessed. Comment below before I say who's my favorite, and let me know if you're right in guessing who my favorite sister is. I'm curious if I made it obvious, or did I not make it obvious enough? My favorite. Okay, without further ado, pause for dramatic effect. It's Piper! Come on! Is she not everyone's favorite? I mean, I know everyone has their favorite, so I shouldn't have asked that. But I just love her so much. I think maybe she's just a little bit more relatable to me in certain ways. I think even though she can come off as somebody who kind of has like a prickly personality and has a short fuse, she loves the people that she loves so fiercely. She is a fighter. She would die for the ones that she loves. She doesn't take crap from anybody. And I think, like I said, she is the one I think that's had the most growth on the show. I mean, think about how she was in season 1, kind of like taking orders around from other people and deciding, you know what, fuck that, I want to own my own business and like run my own show. And she had to become the eldest and shoulder on a lot more responsibilities as a head of household. And it wasn't always pretty, and she let herself feel that, you know. She went through a lot of grief. I can never get over that episode where she becomes the Fury, and at the end of the episode, Paige takes her to what she's really mad at, which is Prue's grave. And Holly Marie Combs' performance is, I get emotional thinking about it. It's so good, it's so real, it's amazing. And yeah, so she had to go through a lot of growing pains, and they call it growing pains because as you're growing, it hurts, and she had to go through that. And I think she is an example of, I'm getting emotional. That's my love for this show. Please, somebody show this video to Holly Marie Combs. Please come to Florida so I can visit you. But she is truly a fighter. And I just love Charmed so much. For the longest time, it was the longest running series, boasting all female leads until it was beat eventually. And it had 8 wonderful seasons. And I know that fans all around the world, all around the internet, are always asking them for like a reboot and whatnot. I have even had literal dreams of them doing like a Charmed movie. And I don't think that it'll probably happen at this point for, you know, various reasons of things that have been out there and things that have been said and done. But thankfully, we can feel hopeful. Well, we can feel grateful that we still have 8 seasons of the show for us to watch at any time that we want. Thank goodness for streaming. And we also have access to them on social media to let them know how much the show has meant to us. And I just love Charmed. I love it so much. And I wish that I was a witch. I wish I had magical powers. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you are a Charmed fan, please let me know your favorite sister, your favorite powers, your favorite episodes. Also, let me know if you want me to do more Charmed videos. Like I said, I feel like I could do a whole video on the Phoebe and Cole, or maybe my favorite couple, Leo and Piper. If you guys like this content and you are interested in supporting, please like it. Help me out with this crazy algorithm that Google has. Leave a comment and subscribe and share it with your Charmed fans. I'm putting this out there in the universe, this video, so I could bring the Charmed fans to me, so that way we could form a Charmed club, because I am here. Those are my people. Bring yourself to me.